Okay, so it's been another day. It's cold out here, but these things have fully dried. They're nice and sturdy, so I'm gonna mount this side because if I measure this for my board, it's gonna be off because I need to pull this in some. So I think I'm gonna pull this rubber off a little bit, push this in, screw it in. Well, I gotta drill it first, obviously, and then screw it in, just so I can get the exact measurement for here. And get the boards cut. We'll go from there. So, yeah, I can get that pushed over. So yeah, as you can see, don't want to wiggle it too much because I'd rather not crack the Bondo, but I might have already. No, I didn't. Okay. Let's try not to crack the Bondo. But I'm gonna get the drill some holes in here, send some screws through, and we should be good. Only gotta put this back down. Yeah, I might have to glue that down. I don't know. Might fold back down by itself, but I doubt it. So I'll probably have to put some glue under there. But yeah, I'm also gonna turn on the heat because it's bloody cold. Okay, so sorry about the propane noise again, but I got this screwed in. It's much sturdier now. However, I noticed this board's coming off here, so I think I'm gonna drill this board and send a screw into this melamine here. Just maybe 2 or 4, just to pinch that together because it's starting to separate and I don't want it to fully separate. So, just reinforcements for the future. So, I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I did that. I'm not actually sure how much that did because melamine's a terrible board to screw into, but hopefully it'll stick for a little bit. I mean, well, by a little bit, I mean the next, how old's this cabinet? 95, I believe. So, the next 25 years. So, yeah. Now, just gotta get my measurements. I guess I'll screw this back down. Should probably do that. As I said, these are not the stock things that were here. There was no screws here originally, but it's kind of a good thing. I like them. Because otherwise your feet will catch and rip this stuff up. Though maybe not. I saw how sturdy this fucking glue was. God damn. But again, future proofing. You never know the kind of tools somebody's going to have when they buy a cabinet, so you want to make it so they don't have to use any. Just because it's an easy fix for you doesn't mean it's going to be an easy fix for them. Because they might not have a drill and a screwdriver and screws. That stuff can get expensive. Tools are one of the most expensive things in this hobby. Luckily, I'm lucky enough to have the tools already, but if I didn't, tools are one of the most expensive things. You can get cabinets cheap. Tools to work on them, they're not. Okay, so I found some boards that were pretty much the same size after I cut them to the right size. So, that'll be good. I decided to not go too far down, one, because this is how long my board was, and two, I mean, I want some clearance here, because one, it's got wheels, it needs to be able to roll, and two, I'm not sure, if I came out to here, I'd have to, like, sand a weird curve. If you look at the bottom, it basically cuts off there at the same spot, so I figured that would be good, plus it cuts off where everything else cuts off, so I think that's probably good. I'm going to take a hammer and tap this down, because the little heads of the staples are sticking up, so I'm going to do that to both sides, and then we're going to attach these. And before I hammer them down, I'm going to put glue, because I just might as well glue them. They're not structural, so I'm not going to put screws through them, because if I put screws through them, I got to Bondo them. So, might as well just glue it. Not a real point, they're not structural, they're just kind of there to cover up the holes so you don't see that. So, yeah, I'm going to get some wood glue. So, I got them glued. I haven't pounded them down yet, because I'm going to show you guys a cool trick. If you were to take a hammer and just fucking pound that, you'd fucking dent the shit out of it. Take a spare board. Don't pound on the board that you want to keep. I gotta switch hands. See? You don't want that in your good board. So pound on a spare. Now it's nice and flat there. But don't pound on the board you want to keep. Put some screws through on that. Oh, I didn't glue that one yet. Yeah, I got slightly sidetracked, if you can't tell, because I couldn't fucking find a hammer. So I had to go to the other garage to get a hammer. So, slightly sidetracked. But this one's in nice now. This one I apparently still have to glue. I didn't glue this one yet, apparently. So we're gonna get all this gunk out of here, put some glue down, glue it, and then tap it down. Both boards are in. Hopefully getting the painting stuff today, so I'll be able to paint all this black. Get all this painted up. Then we'll see about how this is. Once we get the paint on it, see if we need to go over it with more Bondo. If so, we'll go over it with more Bondo. But other than that, it's it's coming along. Almost done. Once this glue dries, I'll put those metal brackets back on here, and then once we paint it, we'll flip it up and see if the seat even remotely mounts. Okay, so it's been a day. These things are nicely bolted down, and by bolted down I mean glued down. So they ain't going anywhere. I got painting supplies, so I'm gonna slap some black paint on this. I'm thinking a semi-gloss for this. If you look at it, it's not a flat, and it's also not a gloss. So, I think a semi-gloss will do. Since I'm painting both sides, all the black on both sides, it doesn't really matter. But I think a semi-gloss will look good on it. I think that's close to the original, if not the original, so I'm going to throw some tin foil in that, because I like to reuse my roller pans. And I'll start painting. Okay, this should be the last clip before it has paint on it. This is going to look unbelievably cheap, but I sent somebody else to buy these things, buy me paint trays, and these are paint liners. But I still put tin foil in it to reuse it. So, it's unbelievably thin, but I didn't know people actually bought paint liners. I thought everyone just used tin foil. Okay, so got the first layer of paint on. Obviously it's going to need more coats. You can still see through the Bondo and see through it. You can still see some Bondo because it's first coat, it's pretty thin. And the Bondo will absorb more paint than the hardened wood, or the paint wood that already has paint on it. So it's coming along. It's probably really loud because that's right beside the propane heater, but it's coming along. Got up here painted. Didn't paint in here obviously because that originally wasn't painted. Walk around to the other side and show you. Over here, as you can see, also nicely painted. So I did notice one spot I missed. This corner. The camera, come on, focus. Yeah, there you go. That corner is broken out. So once this paint dries, I'm going to have to Bondo that, because again, I don't want just broken out corners. I'm redoing the cabinet bottom to make it look good as new at the bottom. So why would I leave a chip if I'm already Bondoing the rest of it? So, might as well. I'll Bondo that. When I'm doing that, I'll do that other edge on the other side. Oh, fuck, I left the tape over there, but I'll get the tape. I'll tape all this up. I'll just put Bondo on this edge so I can paint all that as well. Because again, might as well make it look as good as possible. Make it sell for as much, make it look as cool as it can be. So, I'm going to get the tape, and I'm going to tape this whole edge up. And I'm probably going to get some Bondo and just squeeze some Bondo along that edge. It won't take much, so we'll get all started. Okay, got all this taped up all the way around, so I can Bondo this edge and then paint this edge. This whole side, everything. I taped around all the cuts in the vinyl, because there's not too much I can do about that besides paint the black behind it. So this side I'm not going to do, because this side's actually still in really good shape. Like, there's no... I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of nicks, but again, you gotta pick and choose your battles. With the way the vinyl is, with peeling up in spots, there's no real point to fix stuff like that, and that would take hours upon hours for no real benefit. So, there's no real point to do anything to this side, because this side's really good compared to the other side. If I had to guess, this side was up against a damp basement wall, which is why all the edges kind of puffed up. That would be my guess. This side was against a damp basement wall. That's why basements aren't a great spot to store arcade cabinets. So, if you do, put a fucking dehumidifier, Jesus Christ. So, I'm going to mix up some Bondo, just a little bit. Just put some along this edge, otherwise this edge is going to be really rough. It's not going to take much, just a little bit. Just squeegee it out, and then I'll sand it down once it dries, and we'll paint that edge. And that'll make this side look way better. This stuff is actually dry enough to put a second coat on, so once I get this Bondo on, I'll put Bondo on that corner. And I actually probably won't put a second coat on because I'll have Bondo on that corner, so I can't paint it yet. So I guess I'll just mix up some Bondo. I'll be back once that's done. Okay, so I got some Bondo on all of the edges. I also got up close and found some more imperfections. This is why you paint it and then look at it. So I got some more Bondo in some spots where there are some imperfections. Also decided to fill these gaps in because they were really ugly and really noticeable, so fill it in those gaps on both sides. filled in this corner, and some other imperfections that were right here. This side actually wasn't too bad, but it also wasn't too bad to begin with, so yeah, it's coming along. Once all this Bondo dries, we'll sand it down with some probably 120 or 220, depending on what I got, and repaint it. See if there's any more imperfections. If not, we'll give it a few more coats, and it'll be done. And we gotta stand it up, see if the seat mounts, make sure the game still works, get it listed for sale. And after I play it a whole bunch and clean it, because it's absolutely filthy from Bondo dust, but okay, so it's the next day. All the Bondo is dry. I'm gonna get some sandpaper and start sanding this stuff. Get it all smoothed out. Then we'll throw some paint on it. It's supposed to be warm today, I was told. It's not at all, but okay. So we'll fire the heater up here, but maybe, depending on how hot I get trying to sand all this stupid shit. But I'm gonna get the sandpaper and start sanding. I just gotta find the sandpaper. I think it was last used on my Jeep, which is a problem because where the fuck is it? Okay, so finished sanding all of it. Sanded all this, all the tops, this side. I'm bloody tired because you can't use the power sander for this stuff. I mean, you probably could, but I'm not gonna, especially near the artwork. And this stuff was a pain. There was a lot more that I put on that than I thought. I'm fucking tired. I'm glad I didn't turn on the heat because I'm fucking hot as fuck. So, now I had to pull off the tape because the Bondo was on the tape. So I gotta put new tape on before I paint. Figured I would. So once I get new tape on, I'm gonna tape up some extra stuff like all around here so I can actually paint it without getting paint on everything. Because obviously I don't want to do that. Also gotta wipe it all off first, I guess. Wipe it all down, get all the dust out of everything, retape it, then we'll get to painting. Okay, so the first coat of black was put on yesterday. It's the next day. I just woke up. It may be 1. So I did end up painting the bottom because every time I sell a cabinet, people lay it over on their back and they see the bottom, and since I did some Bondo, they see the Bondo. That looks ugly. So I'm gonna paint the bottom. Doesn't really matter, but it will look better in the long run when they lay it over in their vehicle and never see the bottom of it ever again. But I'm gonna get the second coat on it now because it's the next day. Everything should be dry. Might turn the heat on. It's not that terribly cold, but it is kind of cold in here for some reason. It's not cold out there. But I'm gonna open this garage door so I can actually get in here and put another coat of paint on. Okay, so the second coat is fully dry. I'm debating about a third coat, but I honestly just don't think it needs a third coat. Look in.
No, I'm gonna say that's probably good. Still see a little bit of wet paint right there. But the majority of it's dry, and I'm not seeing any, like, spots where you can see through the paint, so I think it's good. So, in that case, we're gonna start doing the peel. Fuck.
As you can see there, I did actually paint over the tape a little bit, so luckily, this is final. So, it's really easy to get off. A little bit of rubbing alcohol, and you'll have no idea that was ever there, so. Look at that. See, that edge looks so much better repainted. Definitely was worth it. Looks really good. I'm gonna peel the tape off the other side, get this edge, and we'll put the wheels back on. Look at that. That is a nice edge. That looks really good. This is why you just take a little bit extra time. Make something look way better. So, I'm gonna open this garage door. This is still a little bit tacky, so it's not fully cured yet. Open the garage door, I'm gonna bolt on the wheels, I'll just let it set for a few more hours, just let it fully cure. Might turn the heat on just to bake it a bit, because you don't want it tacky, otherwise dust and fingerprints and stuff will still get printed into it, so. Okay, so I got the wheels all mounted up. Super blurry, but... Okay, why is it so blurry? There we go. I got the wheels mounted. Now, once this paint fully cures, I'll cut the T-trim slot back in here, in the back of the Bondo. That's pretty simple. Probably should have done it before it was painted, but oh well, it doesn't really matter. As long as the paint is fully cured so the dust doesn't stick to it. So I'll wait till the paint's fully cured. I'll take a Dremel and I'll just take a cutting blade and just cut the T-trim slot. You can eyeball it pretty easily, it's not that difficult. If I was cutting the whole cabinet, maybe I'd set up a jig, but just cutting like these corners, I think this one, yeah. This corner and technically the whole way down it, but not too bad. Now, you may remember, this cabinet didn't have a back door, so I just quickly cut one, and here's the photo of it drying. And by drying, I mean kind of burning, because it's steaming quite a good bit here. But, yep, this cabinet is done. I just had to get this back painted. I'll show you some B-roll here real quick of the finished product. Now that I'm going through all the footage, I actually realized I never actually showed you it working, but I sadly no longer own the cabinet, so I guess I cannot. But this here is footage of it literally minutes before it got loaded onto the truck that go to its new home, and guess what? They didn't flip it over. They carried it standing up, so painting the bottom was a waste of time. I'm gonna open up this door. And knock over everything.